Catholic News Roundup is brought to you in part by PewSitter.com, your online Catholic newspaper for the third millennium, CatholicMediaCoalition.org, in line with the Church, online with the world.
And TheAmericanCatholic.com, politics and culture from a Catholic perspective.
Hello and welcome to today's edition of Catholic News Roundup. I'm Matthew McAuliffe. A battle from within. The Army is taking a fight to its own Catholic chaplains as it tried to keep them from reading the bishop's letter calling all Catholics to resist the Obamacare mandate that forces the faithful to accept contraception, abortion, and sterilization. A statement from the Archbishop of Military Services, Timothy Broglio, reveals that after the Archbishop directed military chaplains to read the letter from their pulpits on Sunday, the Army intervened, forbidding them from doing so and telling them that the letter could only be distributed at the back of chapels. Broglio resisted, saying that legal precedent clearly showed the Army's demand unconstitutional, and though the Army finally let the letter be read from the pulpit, it was only after it was edited by the Secretary of the Army. The Secretary, John McHugh, removed the phrase, quote, "We cannot, we will not comply with this unjust law," end quote, calling it an incitement to civil disobedience. Meanwhile, dissenting Catholic House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi stands on Capitol Hill calling Obama courageous for forcing Catholics to accept his mandate and vowing to stand by him on this issue. Presently, the Army is the only branch of the military taking issue with the publications of the bishop's letter. Classroom activism. Your children are going to be taught tolerance of deviant same-sex lifestyles starting in kindergarten if you live in Washington, D.C. Some teachers are even starting to influence children to accept homosexuality in preschool. As school officials say, it's important to fashion their beliefs early, using the excuse that soon, quote, playground bullying will, if they don't. Aside from introducing lesson plans being pushed to teachers by homosexual activist groups, one school, Oyster Adams, has decided to ignore Mother's Day in favor of what they are calling, quote, Family Day, so labeled in order to avoid excluding same-sex couples. Washington, D.C. legalized homosexual marriage in 2009 and is now joining Minneapolis, San Francisco, and Cambridge, Massachusetts in building programs that force homosexual principles on children at such early ages. Dual Indian state. Sharia law has made its mark in a region of India known as Kashmir, essentially creating two governing systems. As Christian schools are forced to offer Islamic studies and Muslim morning prayer, a government body now monitors these activities for adherence. The courts in this region of India have turned their attention to anyone inviting Muslims to convert to Christianity, with a recent expulsion ruling for 3 Protestant missionaries and a 79-year-old Dutch Catholic missionary by the name of Jim Borst, who has been working in Kashmir for some 50 years. The court says these men, quote, have been found guilty of spreading communal disaffection and were involved in immoral activities. They are ordered to be expelled from the state, end quote. This part of India has long been known for its ill treatment of Christians by the Hindu population. However, the Islamic influence has grown to a point where some say Muslims have erected a system of law parallel to the nation's democratic one. Stay with us. We'll be back in just a few seconds.
Catholic News Roundup is brought to you in part by NewOxfordReview.org, the voice of Catholic Orthodoxy, in print and on the web, and RenewAmerica.com, expanding the influence of America's grassroots in the cause of freedom.
And now for the latest in the GOP nomination race. If the election were held today, Rick Santorum would beat Obama by a small margin of 1%, with Santorum getting 78% of the Republican vote, according to a new poll from Rasmussen. Some past polls have had Kaine, Perry, and Gingrich also winning more votes than Obama, making for a more level playing field for Republican candidates in upcoming contests, as Colorado and Minnesota head into caucus, while Missouri is holding a primary vote. Some sources are saying that these 3 states may present a challenge to Mitt Romney as the leading GOP candidate. Romney does appear to have the advantage going into these states, having just won the Nevada caucuses. And finally, Komen About-Face. You may remember last week we reported with some suspicion the decision of Komen for the Cure to defund Planned Parenthood, as many pro-lifers rushed to turn pink with admiration for what appeared to be a victory. Well, it looks like our worst fears have come true, as a red-faced Komen has announced a reversal of their decision to stop the flow of grant money to the baby-killing giant, saying in a statement released last Friday, quote, "We will continue to fund existing grants, including those of Planned Parenthood, and preserve their eligibility to apply for future grants," end quote. The decision by Komen to defund Planned Parenthood was followed by a firestorm of pro-abortion media criticism, as well as quick praise from pro-lifers seemingly unaware of the backstory to the sudden defunding, including claims that Komen was actually distancing itself because of the cloud of investigations surrounding Planned Parenthood. Perhaps the best takeaway from the unfolding of this story is that Planned Parenthood's reason for existence is abortion and not women's health, and organizations like Komen are hopelessly caught up in the culture of death, despite what good they might do in some spheres. I'm Matthew McAuliffe. Thanks for tuning in today. Be sure and tune in tomorrow for your daily dose of Catholic News Roundup right here on RealCatholicTV.com. Also be sure to check out The Vortex, where Michael comes to us from Nigeria, where experiencing Holy Mass from a third world perspective presents us with values for the whole world. Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to tell all your friends about us, and as always, God bless you.